Brought to you by Global Ethics Solutions.
There are two key steps in getting to the heart of your moral and ethical worldview that you must get past in order to fully consider this topic. First, you land one side, or the other, regarding the age-old philosophical argument that asks, is there really any right or wrong? Although you are certainly free to believe however you want in private, your public work, choices, and attitude must take a clear stand on the issue. When you show up for work in the morning, your employer and our society expects that you have answered this question in the affirmative. Second, you have to know how to apply it. Do you obey every rule to the point of legalism, or do you allow the situation and your personal discretion to define what's right or wrong? It's really about balance. You must strive for a good balance between living your life by solid, resolute moral principles and using a healthy measure of good judgment and practicality in facing your dilemmas. Having a good handle on these two topics will make you morally balanced, mentally and spiritually balanced, and more successful in your job. In the introduction of this course, it was stated that we all have ethics because we all have a conscience. We use it to make ethical decisions. Your conscience tells you right from wrong. It does this because you have a self-awareness of your behavior, and then you measure it by your deeply held moral beliefs. In short, you know that you and your conscience compares your ethical options against your moral beliefs. So the question is, what do we do with it? Your conscience is there, but the fact remains that you can lose your ability to hear it over time. Listening to your conscience and not just relying on your emotions is something that you have to learn. It is especially critical that you hear the warnings of your conscience when you're making a bad choice. It may not be the loudest thing you hear, but a still, small voice that you can barely make out, but you know is the truth. Of course, when you hear your conscience speaking, you must take the next step and act appropriately. Keep in mind that the words moral and morality sometimes make people uncomfortable. If you feel uncomfortable, try to understand why it is absolutely necessary to use those terms in a practical discussion of ethics. Ethics without a sense of morality is meaningless and empty. Think about how a sense of morality holds our laws, families, and culture together. It's not a dirty word, but something that every person has and needs to guide their ethical lives. Let's talk about moral absolutes versus moral relativism. Relativism is a philosophical position that maintains that there are truths and values, but denies that they are absolute. It believes that ethics is based on the situation, that there are no moral rights and wrongs, that right and wrong is based on social norms, and that morals change over time. Now ask yourself these questions. Imagine you lived and worked in a world that was devoid of moral absolutes. What kind of society would it be? Would you want to live and work in a place that only had a morally relative position on everything? Let's fact the facts. Moral absolutes are a reality that must be dealt with. In the workplace, you must live in the here and now and not in the philosophical realm. The bottom line is that ethical relativism undermines the whole thing and should be rejected. Understand that moral absolutes are everywhere. Our society shares a surprising amount of common moral beliefs. You can see the evidence all around you. No matter what our backgrounds, beliefs, or experiences, our basic moral standards of right and wrong, we are much the same. There are moral absolutes and not social norms. Stealing is wrong. Lying is wrong. Doing harm to others is wrong. These universal societal moral absolutes have stood the test of time. The challenge for you is to grab on to moral absolutes in a busy, hectic, morally mushy business world. Take a good look at yourself and get ethically balanced. Take things like honesty, truth, and integrity seriously and integrate them into everything you do, both on and off the job. Get rid of the emotion and self-interest that lead to rationalization. Stop thinking about yourself and start looking outward. Stop making excuses and accept responsibility. Moral absolutes are not your enemy. Relativism is, and it usually hurts you rather than helps you. So if you want to become ethically balanced, consider these 4 keys: values, perspective, responsibility, and character. Values are the fundamental principles that you live by that make you ethical. You must have deeply held core values that show themselves in your everyday decisions. Perspective requires the ability to be flexible in interpreting and analyzing things within a morally principled framework. You are able to see the big picture and work within it. Ethically balanced people accept responsibility for their ethical shortcomings and make a genuine effort to change for the better. Responsibility is an effort to do what it takes to change and move forward. Don't forget that your character is the real you behind the facades and outward appearances. Your character should not change with the circumstance, but be a constant moral anchor.
This is a Global Ethics Solutions presentation. Be sure to follow us online, like and share this presentation, and subscribe to our channel today.